Fantastic. All right. Again, I'm so thankful that you're here. And my name is Tim Nielsen, and we're really excited that your kids are registered for camp this summer. And thank you for choosing us and trusting us with your children. We are really excited to have them here at camp. This is Camp Brookwood's 80th summer. Ben and I have not been here that whole time, in case you're wondering. But it is a long history of excellent camping and helping kids grow in Christ. And so we're just really excited to meet all of you and to meet your children and to spend some time with them this summer. So I would love to spend a little time talking with you about what to expect when you arrive at camp. And then Ben will actually give you a little bit of a highlight of what the session of camp looks like. And then a little bit more information about who we are, what we are, how those things go, and then, of course, allow some of the questions to be asked. And that way, if you don't have any questions and you feel confident after we're done, you're certainly welcome to jump off the call. And then if you want to check back into the recording later, we'll post that so you can see if there were any questions asked that you didn't think of that you wish you had asked. So we're excited. When you arrive at camp, I know that there's several different sessions this summer. Some of you might be coming on our very first session, or it might be coming a little later in the summer. But as you arrive at camp, someone will greet you at our gate, hand you a registration packet, and begin giving you directions on where to park and what to do next. Our goal always is to help the registration process at camp to go smoothly, to get through all the little things that we need to do and to check all those boxes, but allow you time to talk with our medical staff or the cabin counselors or the camp directors if you have specific questions or needs. So there's always plenty of time to do that. And all of our staff are on during those registration days to make that connection with you. So after you've parked your car, the first thing you'll do is go to a check-in area in which we'll do a brief medical check-in. If everyone will go through some element of it, and if your child has medication or any specific medical needs that require you to speak to one of our medical staff, you'll have an opportunity to connect with them, and they'll be able to take in the medication and answer any questions, or at least hear out what they need to hear about your child so they can best serve them. From there, we'll also do camper photo that we can use in our database so we can identify each child quickly. We will make sure that you have the directions on where to go next. And from there, you actually go down and meet the camp directors. For Brookwoods, you'd meet Ben, and for Deer Run, you'd meet Beth, and they would connect with you and share with you who your child's cabin counselors will be, and what cabin they'll be in. And then your next step is to move to the cabins and help your child get situated. Now, I know you all want to go in and make the bed and make sure that they, are all situated, and that's absolutely fine. We want you to do that and to be able to take the time to talk to the counselors, get to know them, and maybe help them get to know your child and how they can help them to experience camp in the best possible ways. And you'll be able to, of course, drop off all their luggage in the cabin at that time. And then once your child gets settled, and maybe you might want to take them and go visit the camp store, check out some of the items that we have there, and see if there's anything that you've forgotten that you might need, or any of the camp gear that you think, oh, this is what my child needs to make their camp experience all set, is a Brookwoods hat or a Deer Run shirt or something like that. You will have a uniform shirt that will be provided for your child, and we'll actually give that to them if they're here for a 2-week session at the end of the first week, because they'll all wear them to church on Sunday morning at the beginning of week 2. And then we do lots of photos and everyone's wearing their uniform shirt. If we give it to them earlier in the week, they wear it every day, and then it doesn't look good for the photos. So we save it till the end of the week and make sure that it looks nice and fresh. And then that's their shirt to take home with them. You don't need to pre-order those. When you registered, you indicated the size that would be ideal, and we'll have that ready and waiting for your child and give that to them right before they need that. And so there is a new parent orientation that we encourage you to go to attend. without your child. So drop your child off at the cabin, help them, to connect in and build relationships. The counselors are there to do that for you. And then join us for the new parent orientation. I would love to meet you in person and again, be able to answer any questions that you might have. If the weather's fine, we'll probably do that in the outdoor chapel and we'll give you some directions to that area. Here's a couple helpful hints for registration. A lot of folks arrive an hour early for registration. There's absolutely no need to do that if you don't care what bed your child's going to be in. And that seems to be the primary motivator sometimes for getting there early is, I want a top bunk or a bottom bunk or something like that. They're all equally comfortable. And here's the helpful hint. You wait in a much shorter line for registration if you come at 2 o'clock than if you show up at 1. And registration opens at 1. And there's often a very long line of people ready to go. But we move that process very quickly and get them off to the cabins. So the whole process, start to finish, from parking your car to leaving, after maybe attending a new parent orientation, you might be at camp for 2 hours, but we want you here. We want you to be able to walk down to the waterfront, see beautiful Lake Winnipesaukee, meet our staff, and connect with people. So take the time to do that, because we're just so happy to have you a part of camp. So that's a little bit about what happens when you arrive at camp. And I've asked Ben to share a little bit about the daily life at camp and be able to give you an idea of what your child will experience while they're here. Thanks,
Yeah,
Ben.
thank you, Tim. You summarized all that really nicely. And hello, everybody that I haven't gotten to meet yet. Excited for this summer. Just can't believe that we're already into April, and these next 2 months seem to go really fast as we lead into our staff training. So I'm going to talk about the beginning of camp and kind of a typical day. Most kids are really excited about their activities and what activities they're going to sign up for. And so we do that on the very first day. So Sunday is the incoming day, and Sunday night they'll be able to sign up for their first 3 activities. And I don't know if there's any parents that are enrolled for the Explorer Club versus just our 2-week, 4-week long sessions, but the selection opportunities are a little bit different for Explorer versus 2 weeks. So I won't go into that too much, but typically 3 activity selections for all the kids. And that's something that they really look forward to. And we do that on Sunday nights. But just like a typical day, wake up around 7, and both camps do a morning meeting lineup. We do that as to start the day, talk about what we're gonna do. For Brookwoods, it's on our backfield. We raise the flag in the morning and just really get attendance. We want to make sure everybody's present and accounted for. And then we go to our first meal, which is breakfast, and followed by every morning we'll have worship as a whole camp. So I often get that question of, hey, what's together with Brookwoods and Deer Run versus what's separate? And so we worship together most of the week. There's a few nuanced days where, like, for example, on Tuesdays, Brookwoods has their breakfast cookout, and we just do some songs down at the lake. Deer Run is doing a meal up at the dining hall. But for the majority of the week, we worship together in our outdoor chapel. And then the cabins will go off and do morning Bible study together as a cabin. I think somebody had asked me recently, hey, how long do you typically anticipate for that Bible study time? And roughly 20 to 30 minutes between the kind of walking transition time that a cabin may experience back to their cabin. And then we have 2 activity periods in the morning that all campers will go to, whether it's down at the waterfront, up in the climbing area. We have the nature hut, archery, riflery range. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but some activities will be Brookwoods and Deer Run co-ed, and other activities are just the separate camps, which I could go into detail if somebody has a question for later. But 2 activity periods in the morning, and then followed by lunch back in our dining hall. And all meals, for the majority of all of our meals, they're together, the whole camp, Brookwoods and Deer Run. And then in the afternoons, we've built in a rest hour. And that's really important. I think one thing I recognized in our 2-week and 4-week long sessions is uh, camp there's a lot going on. It's very tiring. And so it's really important that kids are prepared for, hey, what is my rest hour experience after lunch? You know, 3 times a week, they'll go to the camp store and, they could get a soda, slushy, candy. Both Brookwoods and Deer Run, that's 3 times a week. That's already built into their camp tuition, so they don't have to come with money. That's super nice for just getting them through the camp store, and just also eliminates people losing money or whatever. But yeah, rest hour, it's important. Like, I would talk with your kids and say, hey, like you should write a postcard home, write letters. I typically tell Brookwoods to write their postcard home by the first Tuesday, because we want you to hear from your kids, and we hope they hear from you. There's a bunk note opportunity that Tim could probably speak to more, but that's like kind of a email that gets printed out in the mornings, and or you could also send cards and letters of that nature. But
Let's jump in with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So with the letters home, we know that your child well enough to know who's going to write home and who's not, but still send them with that self-addressed stamped envelope maybe, and see what you can get. And if you get a letter from camp right at the beginning of camp that says I'm unhappy, I'm not fitting in, or something like that, don't panic. Give us a call, and we will really discreetly check in on your child and see how they're doing. That might have been written on Sunday night and put in the mailbox Monday morning. And by the time you get it and we talk to them, they're like, no, this is the best place in the world. I don't know what you're talking about. So these things happen, but we would love to hear from you and make sure that we can check in on your child for sure. And the bunk notes opportunity is a way for you to send a one-way message to your child. We receive it in an email form and we print them like a letter. And that way you don't have to rely on the postal system to deliver it. Otherwise you might be writing letters before your child goes to camp in order to make sure they get them. But again, remember, it's a one-way system, so you're not going to hear back from them in that format. But it's a way to encourage them and hopefully that they're having a great time. My message to parents always is, you want to let them know that you're excited that they're at camp, that hopefully they're engaging in all these activities, they're making great friendships. Don't tell them the dog misses them, or something like that. It might stir up a little bit of homesickness, but just tell them how proud of you are of them for going on this experience and this adventure. So there you go. Yep.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and just a lot of like things like the mail or other related things could be found in the handbook, which I definitely recommend. Working through the camper handbook for the camps, you can find a lot of information in there. But just kind of going on with the day after rest hour. Is their third activity period. So for the junior unit and the senior unit is going to have their third activity right after lunch. Junior unit, kids 8 to 12 in that range, will have rest hour right after lunch, and then the two flip-flop between their rest hour and their lunch, if that makes sense. And then followed the last thing in the afternoon is the open waterfront time. So all camps swim. They could be down at the lake, swimming, going out in plyax, just hanging out with their friends. We also, both camps, we open up Moose Hall, which is like ping pong, carpet ball, pool. Some kids like to just go up there, play chess, with a buddy or something. And Deer Run also has their respective lower lodge. So usually during that open waterfront time, there's freedom and flexibility to go up to those as well. And then, we do an evening flag lowering. Again, it's really focused on regrouping, taking attendance, making sure everyone's present and accounted for, and then talking about the evening a little bit, and then going into our meals. So going to dinner. It's actually interesting. We have these hand washing stations that kind of came out of COVID, where we wanted the whole camp to, before going into meals, wash their hands, and we've seen a great, just positive trend of like less camp sickness going around. So we've continued with just routine hand washing before meals, which has been great.
Who would have known washing your hands was so good for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's 10 doctors on this call right now probably going, we knew. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but then evening program for both Brookwoods and Deer Run, we would have a cabin night or a unit night. And so cabin night is when the counselors plan a special activity for just their 12 campers. It could be anything from going tubing, doing something on the stand-up paddle boards, going blobbing on our, the giant blob, or something in the woods, versus a unit night, which is when the whole junior unit or the senior unit get together and play like mat ball, which is another version of carpet ball, thunderball, which is a variation of dodgeball, other creative large group games. So we kind of vary between the unit night, cabin night. And then after those is kind of winding down, heading back to the unit, getting ready for bed. So junior unit, we typically try to get them starting that bedtime routine before the senior unit. So that bedtime routine is usually, shower house. We have at Brookwoods, we have the shower house. At Deer Run, they have showers in their cabin. So a little bit different of a model there. Just getting everybody to get cleaned up, and then usually kind of a refocused, either a devotional for the evening or just kind of a debrief that the counselors will lead. Really just kind of quieting themselves, getting ready, ready for bedtime. So that's kind of what the evening looks like. At the end of a week, we could sometimes have all camp activities. So, I talked about the cabin night or the unit night, but then at the end of a week, we could have like both Brookwoods and Deer Run, the whole camp's at the staff special, which is like when our counselors do skits and whatnot. So that's kind of what the week looks like. I could talk into. Yeah. I can overshare and talking way too much because this is all the things that I oversee. So I don't want to bore you with too many details, but I
leave a little mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
I'd jump in to talk about food a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be great. I'll give Ben a break.
Yeah.
So it does sound like there's a lot going on at camp, and there certainly is. There's a lot of diversity in the programming, the size of group, the areas of camp that we use. With over 450 acres of camp, we have a lot of access to different areas here that we can utilize. And even within the way that we feed our campers, we have some different things that will take place. First thing to know is that the cabin groups typically are seated together for all of the meals in the dining room. So each cabin group has 2 tables, 1 counselor will be at each table. And we really want that to be an experience where they're actually engaging around the dinner table. We serve family style so that everyone gets their food at the same time at the table. And they can really engage in conversation and really just have a great time together. If your child has any special dietary needs, there's ways to address that to us so that our food service staff are ready for them. This is not uncommon for them. And even within our summer staff and some of our full-time staff, we're certainly preparing meals that are gluten-free, dairy-free, or other allergies that we need to avoid. We have had every summer vegetarians, vegans within our camp population. So we're ready to serve in that way. And we want to make sure that those campers that have any special medical needs or dietary needs are well addressed in those areas. At meals, at lunch and dinner, there's always a fully stocked salad bar as an option or a way to get a little bit more fresh food in there as well. And then we do some different kinds of meals, like Ben mentioned, breakfast cookout, where down at the lake in the morning as the lake is still and the loons are still out and there's maybe a few water skiers out there enjoying it. We're flipping pancakes and having dinner sitting on the breakfast sitting on the rocks, enjoying some time together. We do some meals on our front lawn at camp, and then some cabin cookouts where they go out in the woods as a cabin group and cook out. So a great way to enjoy different places to eat around camp and enjoy that time together. And I was going to ask Ben to maybe share just a little bit about the trip program.
Yeah.
And thank you for putting some questions in the chat box. We'll bounce through some of these things, and as we go, it might answer them, and then we'll we'll make sure that we hit all of the questions before we log off. But then you want to tell us a little bit about trips?
Yeah, I would say one of the unique things about our camp is that we also have a tripping program where, we value the camp activities experience on property, but also we value the experience of going off property. For some cabins up in the White Mountains, camping out under the stars, setting up tents, cooking over small stoves, hiking. We really value that. We see there's a lot of lessons, just team building, shared experiences that help people grow together and also just like connect with God through His creation. And we've tailored those trip experiences based on the age and what's what kids can handle. So our youngest cabin will boat them out to we have an island on the lake, Plum Island, and they'll just go out there and have fun making s'mores, having burgers over a fire, maybe playing some just out in the lake on Plum Island. Whereas some of the older cabins we build through progression, like our oldest will go on a 3-day, the 15, 16-year-olds will go on a 3-day backpacking trip. And we've intentionally built that into the program, or they'll go on a canoe trip. That's our basic program for the Bear and Impala cabin. So, and then everything in between, they'll go hike a mountain. Like I said, up in the White Mountain National Forest, we're about an hour just south of those. So we tailor each cabin experience to what they can handle, and but also we want to challenge them through the outdoors and make sure that it's a productive time.
Awesome.
And we do have trip staff that lead those. So we'll have a counselor and then a trip staff who goes through wilderness first aid training. They're kind of the guide, if you will, on the trip. They're creating the route plans, and they're the experienced one out there.
And I think as an organization, we're one of the biggest users of the White Mountain National Forest. So trying to get as many kids out to experience the beauty of New Hampshire and some of those mountainous areas. So thanks, Ben. That's great. And so there are a couple questions. Again, we'll come back to the questions because I think we'll be answering a few of them. As you look through the parent handbook, take a look at the list of things to pack and bring. There are some things that will help you address maybe some needs for hikes. Again, as Ben mentioned, the younger kids are going on very short kind of day hike experiences, where older kids are maybe doing a little bit longer overnight camping experiences. Some gear will be provided, backpacks and sleeping pads and some of those things where you would want to have good boots. That's a great thing, certainly, to have for those trips. Also, it'll indicate some of the clothing that you need to bring for camp, and swimsuit styles and things that are appropriate for the kind of activities that we're doing, because they're so very active, and what bedding we recommend. And you can be the sheets and a blanket kind of bed, that's fine, or you can be the all sleeping bag. It's up to your child what they're going to be most comfortable with, but you definitely will want a sleeping bag if they're doing an overnight hike during their time. So I want to also fill in a little bit of what it means to be a Christian camp. Ben gave a good indication of the times that we'll spend in worship together and the Bible studies, and some the things that will happen there. And definitely in singing together as a great opportunity to put God's word into the mouths of kids through song. And your child will be able to take home a songbook that's full of all those camp songs that they have sung while they're at camp. And I love it at the end of a session as people are driving away with the windows down, because maybe their kids have been so active. You might want to keep the windows down, and they're singing songs as they're driving away. And I think it's just such a beautiful thing. And then the small group Bible study time with their counselors. Those are Bible studies that are written by one of our camp chaplains, who will be with us all summer, and taking the counselors through a training time on how to teach these Bible studies to the specific age group of children that they're working with. So taking that content and making it appropriate for an 8-year-old with illustrations that they can connect with and understand, or a 15-year-old who happens to have been at camp for many years before. So a great opportunity for them to dive into God's word, and to kind of understand it and how it applies to their life. We are not a denominationally linked camp. We're not a church-owned camp. And so when we look at God's word, we're looking at the things that we consider the majors within the Christian lifestyle, and not focusing on the minor things, but focusing on those things that are important and understood and accepted widely within the Christian experience. So a couple questions have popped up about the medical staff and some of those needs at camp. So we do have a medical team on staff all summer long. We have 3 staff who are here: nurses, doctors, PAs. Some are here all summer. Some are coming in for a session at a time, and we often have many other staff who have more advanced first aid levels. Maybe they're an EMT or something of that nature within our camp staff populations. Ben mentioned wilderness first aid, which is an advanced first aid specifically for those leading wilderness trips. And then all of our staff that are working directly with kids have gone through first aid and CPR training. Many, almost all, are lifeguards as well. And then that would apply to many of our other activity areas that have certifications available. Counselors who are teaching things like riflery, sailing, and other activities have attended certification courses to prepare them for these things. Certainly take safety very seriously, but also want to be able to teach these activities well and deliver content that is going to be meaningful to your child. So the medical staff, while they're at camp, are there to handle medication management, for one thing. Certainly if your child has medication, they will intake that on Sunday and record when they take their medication, if it's something that is a regular distribution. You do not need to send ibuprofen and some of those over-the-counter things because they are already in our standing orders from our local medical facility. So they are a part of our medical team is able to distribute them as needed. And we do have a relationship with Huggins Hospital, which is 7 miles away. If we are in need of any emergency care, they're certainly right down the road from us. So, certainly the other thing that our medical staff are there for are scrapes and cuts and bumps and bruises. And, those things in an active place can happen, but they'll provide proper care. If your child stays overnight in the infirmary because they're not feeling well, and they come in at bedtime and end up staying overnight, we'll call you in the morning and give you an update on their condition. If they have any injury that requires them to be seen by somebody outside of the camp in any medical services, we'll keep you informed as soon as we are able to, so that you are aware of what's going on. But we like to avoid that as much as possible. A couple of little items, and then we'll get to the questions. Just a reminder, all the paperwork is due May 1st. So we encourage you to hop on that and get some paperwork in. A lot of it is available on the website. If you need to, there's some parent info that you can fill out the papers, get them in, and make sure that we have all the things we need. And then also to remind you that we do have a few spaces available in camp. A few spaces just recently opened up in Deer Run as some folks' schedules shifted. And then there are a few spaces also in Brookwoods. And if you refer somebody who attends a session this summer and they list you as a referral, there is a $100 bonus that would be available to you as well, that we would provide for you at the end of the season. And then also, if you're interested in coming to camp for an open house, we have an open house scheduled on May 18, and we would certainly love to show you around camp. That's coming up pretty soon. And hopefully all our snow will be melted by then. If you don't live in New Hampshire, you missed the fact that we just got about 20 inches of snow this week. And that was a little bit of a surprise, a nor'easter after Easter. We didn't see that coming. But by May 18, hopefully it'll start feeling a little bit more like summer. So you're absolutely welcome to join us. We would love that. Ben, if I missed anything, or should we go to the questions?
I don't think so. Yeah, but we should start doing the questions feel free if there's things that you feel like we've missed, happy to answer them in the question, the chat box.
Sure. So one of the questions was, how many counselors will supervise each activity, particularly water activities? And of course, we offer about 50 activities in camp. So the activities that are considered more risky are going to have more staff and a smaller number of participants, and at least two in those activities. So they will always have two if they're considered a potentially risky activity, and those staff will have certainly been trained in those areas as well. We have a better than 1-to-3 ratio of staff to campers. So we are not only supervising our campers, we as camp professionals are supervising our staff and constantly evaluating their care and their delivery of activity quality and some of those things. Everyone is involved in the activities program, and the ratios are really great in those activities.
I can answer the next question, which was just how many campers in a cabin. So yeah, 12 campers per cabin. And we do anticipate a full camp this summer. So I would say I anticipate 12 kids per cabin, which is the max generally. We do not offer laundry for 2-week campers. So definitely if you're the parent of a 2-week camper, send them with enough clothes for the duration of 2 weeks. For the monther campers, we do provide laundry service. We do recognize going 4 weeks would be a long time without doing laundry. So hopefully that answers that question.
Vicki asked an interesting question that I think maybe the first time I've had this question asked about bringing a laptop to continue a virtual class. If it's possible, let's have that discussion at some point here. But typically the answer is, please don't bring on any electronics to camp. And we want the relationships to be in person. But if this is a course requirement that needs to be met, perhaps we need to have a conversation to figure out how we can best do that. But that maybe leads us into a question about how does your child communicate back to you? And so we do not allow calls home or emailing home while your child's at camp. We have said, please don't send along a phone or any of those things as well, but to communicate directly to their counselors and to let them know how they're feeling about the camp experience, how they're feeling about the other campers in their cabin, and the counselor will help them to build that relationship that is healthy and strong, and certainly will keep people like Ben and myself informed of how your child's doing. If we find that a child is struggling with homesickness while they're at camp, which does happen every now and then, we loop the parents back into that conversation to say, here's what we're working on. Here's the approach we've taken. There certainly are a variety of different responses. And I can share with you one experience that we had a year or two ago where the parent said, you know what, my son was so excited about coming to camp. I think he's just having a hard time embracing a new experience. Tell him he's got to stick it out. And I went back to him and I told him that, and he said, okay, I'll make the best of it. And he had a fantastic session at camp. And sometimes there's a little block in their minds that say, oh, I think I can't do this. I can't do this. And as soon as they go, I'm going to make the best of it, they can turn the corner. He came back last summer, so excited to be back at camp. And it was just so great to see that change.
Yeah. I could speak to kind of the shower house questions. It was asked, the question was like, is it up to each kid when they go take their shower, or and then also kind of to add on to that, another question about the bathrooms, are they inside or outside the cabin? So at Brookwoods, every cabin has a bathroom inside the cabin, a trough sink, cubbies for all the toiletries. So really the only the only amenity they don't have in each cabin is the shower. So they could do everything within their cabin, but then after really the evening program, because usually cabin night, unit night is a lot of running around, sweating, is when the cabins go and shower. So again, now Brookwoods is about 120 campers, so not everybody's going at once. So that's why I mentioned the junior unit, we prioritize them going first. And sometimes with the little guys, it takes the counselor to say, all right, the whole cabin, we're going to go. We do to kind of manage that. I assign 2 staff per week to be shower house monitors to just make sure people are going in, leaving. One of the biggest challenges sometimes is just people taking the things they brought into the shower house with them back. Clothes, underwear, things of that nature that they brought with them. So that kind of also dovetails with the lost and found. We typically have a lot of lost and found at the end of every session. So really encourage you to label your children's clothes as best as possible. We do a couple rounds of with the whole, the boys camp, and I know Deer Run does it as well, just making sure that they return their clothes to, the respective campers. So the shower house is an evening thing, and we try to, get the junior unit through first, and then, but they don't have to do that every day. It's really up to your child.
We do dip them in the lake every day too, right?
Yeah, there's opportunities to swim.
Yeah. When I was a camper at Brookwoods, we were told bring Ivory soap because that you were bathing in the lake. And so we don't do that anymore. And the fish are so much happier about it. So the girls have it easy because the showers are in the cabins. And we use those cabins for our retreat season. So they're in use all year long for retreat groups. But they don't have to go very far for the showers, which is really nice. There was another question concerning medication management too. So all medication that campers would have needs to be turned into our medical staff, and they need to come to the Loon, which is our medical building, for their medication. We're not able to keep any medication in the cabins. Even our staff who are living in camper cabins are meant to turn or have to turn all of their medication into the medical staff as well. So some good questions about overnight trips too. So the trips, all campers go on some level of trip. And as I mentioned, the very youngest campers are doing like day hikes, and Ben said they'll do an overnight at our island. Excuse me. But all campers participate in trips. They are not an optional part of the camp experience. They are very much about a cabin bonding experience. So the one counselor from the cabin group and the 12 campers will go on the trip with the trip staff, and they're challenging, but they're a good challenging. And it's interesting. Campers come into these experiences with a little bit of trepidation about hiking a mountain. For instance, the Mount Major, which some of our 8-year-olds will hike this summer. My 4-year-old hiked it when we moved here. It's not impossible, but it's the idea of I'm hiking a mountain. But at the end of a session, when we sit around the campfire and we talk about the camp experience, a lot of the things that come out are about I was on that hike and it was challenging, but my buddy came up next to me and encouraged me, and that got me there. And when we got to the top and we saw that view, it was so amazing. So parents, hang in there. It is an amazing experience, and encourage your kids to embrace that idea, because that trip experience is truly wonderful. Yep.
Just a question for younger kids at early bedtimes. I would say for an 8 p.m. bedtime, I would anticipate a little bit later of a bedtime at camp. We do try to wind down after 8 o'clock. 8:45, 9 o'clock, I would say. Especially for the younger, Explorer Club 9 to 10. We do emphasize they need to get to bed early. And then with the older campers, we're trying to get them to go to bed early and get the lights out.
As you can imagine, the younger campers are also up very early, ready to go, and we're dragging the older campers out of bed for breakfast. Come on, guys, let's go. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the question about having siblings that drop off is totally fine. An opportunity for them to see camp as well. I think your children best, but bringing the family, for an incoming day, is totally fine. And I think that's awesome that your family can experience that together. If not all the children are going to be staying. So, and then also, kids can bring a camera, to take pictures of their experiences, their trips, things of that nature. So, but an iPhone doesn't count as a camera because that's still a phone. So, I'd say, one thing we also, going to camp for 2 weeks or a month, it could be hard on a lot of like nice clothing, nice shoes, technology. So I would say don't pack the really fancy shoes or expensive name brand clothing, just because we're going to be outside a lot, and and things get, there's wear and tear.
Absolutely. Um, and there's a question about tick checks, and our counselors will talk to the campers about how to check themselves at night for ticks and to make sure that they're clear of things. And of course, if we're down at the lake and somebody saw something on somebody's back, we have a spot where they can't see it. We have medical staff that will care for that. Here at camp, we actually do 3 waves of treatments for ticks and any other bugs throughout the whole camp property. And even after our very first treatment, we see a massive reduction in any sighting of ticks at camp. And so normally by the time campers have arrived, we have really seen that population on the camp property almost down to nothing. And they're also addressing poison ivy and anything like that as well, trying to eliminate those known hazards and make sure the camp is safe in that way.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Apple Watches, smartwatches, I would suggest that you don't bring them. Again, that's kind of in the same vein of expensive items that wouldn't want to be broken or lost. We do actually at the beginning of a session go around with bins. Every cabin has bins that the kids can put things that they don't want. We recognize like some kids travel over via plane, and so they want their phones for staying in touch with their parents, but we collect those items, wallets and phones, and then put them in a locked safe place so that at the end of the session they could get those back undamaged. So that's kind of how I'd answer. The Apple Watches would definitely be included in that locked bin. Don't really need that. And then in terms of wildlife, we I would say some of the wildlife we would anticipate seeing is, if you're taking fishing, you're going to see some fish, a lot of great birds,
a lot of turkeys.
Yeah, a lot of turkeys around camp. In terms of the bears, coyotes, don't see those around camp. Honestly, there's a lot of people, over 400 people on property, and so typically if there's anything, we've probably scared it off long before anybody would see it. So
and any of our hiking experiences too, the trip staff are trained in how to secure food at night so that it's out of reach of any wild animals and would not attract them to the campsite. So certainly something that we're conscious of. And anytime we've encountered animals, we've basically scared them away. That's usually what happens. But so there was a question about a list of hotels and lodging and restaurants and some of those things. In the parent handbook, there is a short list of those as well for both Alton and Wolfboro, which are our 2 closest towns. And then there are certainly some that, if you want to go a little further afoot, someone asked me today about staying in the area while their child was at camp. And I recommended maybe do a couple days on the Maine coast and maybe go a couple days up into the White Mountains area and stay in North Conway. There are lots of beautiful places here on the lake as well that are available, but sometimes they're quite busy in the month of July for sure.
Yeah, in terms of open house, if you can't make the, I think we talked about May 18th open house. You could also call our office and schedule just a personal tour. The open house we offer, kind of the time frame is 11:30. There's lunch typically included, maybe even root beer floats. But for a personal tour, just kind of on a midweek or a random weekend may not be possible. But certainly call us up. We'd be happy to. Honestly, that's a great opportunity. You get to meet some of our camp staff. You could go. We could show you into a cabin. We could, see where, based on your kid's age, what cabin they might be in. So you could walk around the whole grounds. And, I think that means a lot to a lot of families and kids, kind of calms nerves before incoming day. So I highly recommend it. And just
John asked a question about squirrels. We do see some squirrels at camp for sure. And some of the less threatening animals like turkeys and some of those things that exist in our area. We love the turkeys because they do eat ticks. So it's always a great experience when we do get to see some wildlife. The horses are another part of our animals that we have at camp that we get to enjoy too.
So
I think there was a question we missed about laundry too, I think.
Oh, I did
You did that
mention,
one?
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I think the only other thing that I'm thinking about for both myself and Beth, our Girls Camp director, is we do the cabin assignments. So what cabin your child would be staying in, and so we do that based on age and also grade. That's kind of how we put the campers in their respective cabins. So there is also an opportunity to select like a cabin mate request. So make sure if your child has a friend they're coming with and they want to be in that cabin, please make sure you indicate that. That really helps us as we put those lists together. And then if there's any other concerns, I like to you could email me, ben@christiancamps.net. That's ben@christiancamps.net. If there's like a specific cabin request, cabin mate request. So I typically try to sort those all out before the incoming day. In that, yeah, we just try to both. I'm speaking for myself and Beth as well. So, question about lifeguards.
Yep. And so there was a question
Oh.
about lifeguards too. And we have about 85 lifeguards on staff in the summer. So almost every counselor, many of our activity staff and our leadership staff are lifeguards. And we have about six staff that are at the waterfront specifically as waterfront staff, running the boats and teaching things like wakeboarding and water skiing and some of those activities that require a little bit more experience.
Oh yeah, this is a great question. Just in terms of, so the Explore Club is a 1 week long session. And so the kids that sign up for that session will be in their own cabin, especially because their programming is going to be a little different than a 2 week or 4 week long camper. So, a 2 week long camper and a camper enrolled in the Explore Club would not be a part of the same cabin or in the same cabin. However, they'll see each other at meals, and they could even see each other at activities. All camp activities would just be that more cabin experience that they wouldn't be able to experience together.
Yeah, for those of you unaware of the Explorer program, it's for 8, 9, and 10-year-olds to have a 1 week camp experience on their first time at camp. So a good way to get settled into camp and see if it's the right fit for them. We usually see about 95% of those campers come back for a 2 week session the next year.
Yeah, so looks like we're out of questions, unless some other people have some lingering questions that we haven't talked about. Happy to answer anything else.
And we're happy to stay on for a few minutes if you want to engage face to, and ask a question too. Happy to stay. But thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we really look forward to meeting you this summer. My email didn't get put in there as well, but it's similar, just tim@christiancamps.net. And I'd love to hear from you too if you have any specific questions. Oh, and pickup experience. Thank you. Someone asked that question. The pickup experience is fairly quick. Right where you dropped your child off at the Deer Run Lodge for girls or over in the Brookwood Circle for boys, their luggage will be waiting at the Brookwood Circle, and their counselor will be there. You can interact with them over at Deer Run. You can interact with the counselor, and we'll make sure that we get their luggage back to you as well, and then load them up and get to hear all about camp.
Make sure you, I'll just speak for my end, make sure you double and triple check that you have everything. Because I have been, I walk around to our loading dock where we put all the luggage and camper items. Like, oh, whose is that sleeping bag over there? I'll read the name and, the council will be like, oh, they already left. So I'll get them on the phone. Hey, we're halfway down 95. Try to make sure you double, triple check.
Including medication.
Yes.
Yep.
All those things on outgoing day.
Ben, what do you recommend for luggage? Duffel?
Oh yeah, duffel bag that folds up nicely underneath the bunk. We do provide shelves for kids to when you get here, unpack, put footwear and clothing on the shelves.
And I appreciate the question about will the children learn how to wash dishes? Sorry, folks, they might not learn that directly from us, but they will be a part of doing cabin cleanup every morning. So they will go home knowing how to clean their room. How's that? All right. Well, thank you so much. We just are so excited. Summer's almost here, and we can't wait to meet you. Thanks again. And again, please reach out if you have any questions.